Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Kodnatai Maipa Shashi ki, Shri Tulsinath Maharaj ki, Shri Giridhar Lal ki, Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki, Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Krishna's great soldier. As the kirtan continued, Tamal Krishna asked to be excused. Prabhupada asked why, and he replied he was going for discussion. For discussion, said Srila Prabhupada, they want me to survive, and I want to die peacefully. I cannot make miracles. The physical body has to be maintained if I am to survive. But without taking food, how the physical body will go on? That is fanaticism. Everything is in the hands of Krishna, said Tamal Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's eyes had been closed, but suddenly he opened them and said, Krishna wants me to do as I like. The choice is mine. Krishna has given me full freedom. These words struck some of the devotees as extremely startling and different. But Brahmananda spoke up in the mood of resigned assurance. It doesn't matter whether you live or die, Prabhupada, he said, you'll always be with Krishna, and we will always be with you, because we will follow your instructions. Whether I live or die, Prabhupada said, I will always be Krishna's servant. So if Brahmananda has assured me that this movement will go on, then better let me die peacefully. The devotees who were only inches away from Prabhupada heard these faint words with dismay. After a few minutes of heavy silence, they resumed the kirtan. Prabhupada seemed to rest. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 19, the island of Jambudweep, text 29 and 30. It's a prose verse, so I'll just read through it myself. Shri Shukovacha Jambudvipasya cha Rajan Upadvipan Ashto Haika Upadishanti Sagaratmajai Ashvan Veshana Imam Mahim Parito Nikanadibir Upakalpitan Tadyata Swana Prashtash Chandra Shukla Avatano Ramanako Mandara Harina Panchajanya Singhalo Lanketi. Please repeat. Shri Shukovacha. Shri Shukadev Goswami continued to speak. Jambudvipasya, of the island known as Jambudvip. Cha, also, Rajan, O king. Upadvipan Ashto, 8 subordinate islands. Ha, certainly. Eke, some. Upadishanti, learned scholars describe. Sagara Atmajai, by the sons of Maharaj Sagara. Ashva Anveshane, while trying to find their lost horse. Imam, this. Mahim, tract of land. Parita, all around. Nikanad B, digging. Upakalpitan, created. Tat, that. Yata, as follows. Swana Prashta, Swana Prashta. Chandra Shukla, Chandra Shukla. Avartana, Avartana. Ramanaka, Ramanaka. Mandara Harina, Mandara Harina. Panchajanya, Panchajanya. Singhala, Singhala. Lanka, Lanka. Iti, thus. Translation. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, My dear king, in the opinion of some learned scholars, 8 smaller islands surround Jambudweep. When the sons of Maharaj Sagara were searching all over the world for their lost horse, they dug up the earth, and in this way 8 adjoining islands came into existence. Names of these islands are Swanaprashta, Chandrashukla, Arvatana, Ramanaka, Mandara Harina, Panchajanya, Singhala, and Lanka. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Kurma Purana, there is this statement about the desires of the demigods. Anadikarino deva swagasta bharatodbhavam vangchantyatma vimoksharta mudrikarte dikarina. Although the demigods are situated in exalted positions in the heavenly planets, they nevertheless desire to descend to the land of Bharadvarsha on the planet Earth. This indicates that even the demigods are unfit to reside in Bharadvarsha. Therefore, if persons already born in Bharadvarsha live like cats and dogs, not taking full advantage of their birth in this land, they are certainly unfortunate. Amagyanatimidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurimitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shah Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasari Gauri Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we should clarify that at least in this this purport, then Bharatvarsha is referring to the land that we now call India. And Srila Prabhupada nearly always referred to Bharatvarsha as being India, and especially because he often quoted this verse, Bharata Bhumite Hoila. One who has taken their birth in Bharatvarsha should make their life successful and give this science of Krishna consciousness to the whole world. So I was thinking that although the land of India has become almost, in many ways, absorbed into the global capitalist Western culture, but still, it's interesting that the president of India, Narendra Modi, actually was a brahmachari and had a brahmachari education. And although Srila Prabhupada didn't live in a brahmachari ashram, but his parents were Vaishnavas, and so throughout his life, he was living in an environment of Daivi Varnashram mindset, and could understand the value of that training. And also, of course, Mahatma Gandhi, another famous, probably the most famous leader, very much embraced that very simple lifestyle. So this is the only way I can understand this statement, that the demigods are unfit to reside in Bharatvarsha, because the demigods still have, they've taken birth in the heavenly planets due to their very strict observance of Karma Kanda, Vedic rules and regulations, which enable them to attain a very opulent position. Whereas they had the opportunity, the demigods must have actually lived in the middle planetary systems to be able to attain the positions of demigods. The demigods don't fall down from higher planets to become demigods. They must have lived in the earthly planets to be able to attain that position of demigods. So they must have had to go through many lifetimes of strictly adhering to the Vedic rules and regulations to attain that position. And they must also have had like material desires to be to attain that position, because to follow the rules and regulations strictly of Karma Kanda sections of the Vedas, you need a strong desire, because it's like it requires determination. So their determination to attain the position of demigods must have been stronger than their determination to attain liberation and to attain being situated at the lotus feet of Krishna in unalloyed devotional service. So they weren't niskinchana. Srila Prabhupada talks that one essential quality of a devotee of Krishna is that he is niskinchana, which means that, or he's akinchana. Actually, is it akinchana or niskinchana? Sorry? Is it the same, Ashish?
They are different, but both are one.
Yeah. It means basically not desiring to achieve any material position, and not wanting to possess anything material, because both material desires and material possessions both entangle us in this cycle of birth and death, by which the living entity rises to the heavenly planets and falls down again, or goes down to the lower planets. But Srila Prabhupada says that the demigods, it's actually described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that the demigods and the exalted personalities, they worship Kali Yuga, because in Kali Yuga, a human being, by performing Sankirtan, can attain the highest platform. So India, in one sense, India still teaches us that, teaches us the means by which to be a kinshana, and by which to desire nothing material and which to possess nothing material. And one way it teaches us is because to be able to travel in an essential part of life in India, both we read it in the Krishna book, we read it in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we read it in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is that persons in all ashrams would regularly travel to places of pilgrimage, not just for festivals, but also for their own purification, and to give respect to different personalities, to get blessings from the river from the holy rivers, to get blessings from the holy dhams, and to get blessings from the sadhus who reside there. So traveling and going on pilgrimages is still actually, perhaps you could even say that it's the most prominent feature of the culture of Bharatvash, the culture of India today, that every year, like hundreds of millions of people travel thousands of miles to get blessings from those devas and from Krishna and different incarnations of Krishna, different deities. And to be able to travel, it doesn't matter how rich you are, all right, traveling means you have to travel light. And if you don't, and again, India teaches you this, if you don't travel light, you're either going to get sick, or you're not going to get to your destination on time, or you're going to get robbed. Because, so, yeah, and if we, part of taking advantage of being born in a spiritual culture or a spiritual community, to be able, even if you're living within that community, you can't take advantage of the blessings of living in that Krishna conscious spiritual community if you're still attached to your to what you consider your possessions. And if you're still desiring to further your material opulence or your material comfort, then you can't take advantage of the blessings that are offered there. This as Sanatana Goswami says to Suresh Joshi, for this greatest treasure, you do not need two grasping hands. You need only an attentive ear and an open heart. And before Suresh Joshi before Sanatana Goswami gave the holy name to Suresh Joshi, then he asked him to throw away the touchstone. So this is, so the demigods, the intelligent demigods, they understand that they've been after the touchstone for many lifetimes, and then having ascended to the heavenly planets, then they're looking down on the devotees and the sadhus of Bharatvarsha, and they're understanding, we've been chasing the touchstone, and we've ended up here in the heavenly planets, but actually we've missed it. We've actually missed the real place. So there's now in India, there's like the majority of the population, you could say, are missing. They're after the touchstone, and they think that the touchstone is money, of course, and material wealth. But that pursuit for material wealth and material security means that because they've got two grasping hands and they're always trying to grasp the material security and the material prosperity, then they can't receive the gift, even though it's all around them. There's like, I said, there's like, there's, I don't know how many temples there are in India, but there's like hundreds of temples which are vastly more, which are visited by millions of people every year. So we also we are also living in, a temple, and this temple has all of the features of all of the great temples of India. Right? It has all of the essential elements. And those essential elements are the elements that Srila Prabhupada is giving into us in the morning program, as we hear, as Srila Rupa Goswami describes. There are the chanting of the holy name, the association of devotees, visiting the deities in the temple, performing deity worship, and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, we're fortunate to live in the association here of devotees who actually really understand this principle of niskinchana, akinchana, living without accumulating unnecessary baggage. And really whatever unnecessary baggage we may appear to have, and we know that there's a lot of baggage here at Krunabhavan because we have to keep moving things around. It's like, and we're fortunate that devotees live here are expert in accepting gifts that are given to us and utilizing them. But perhaps some of us are not so expert in utilizing gifts, and they become burdens upon us, so that we don't have an open heart and an attentive ear, and we don't have open hands to receive the gifts, the spiritual gifts, because we're so entangled in trying to reorganize the material acquisitions. So yeah, it's very, very difficult. It's and actually, yeah, and we don't live in India. There are still advantages of living in India, because even if you're a businessman, and even if you've got a lot of money, and even if you are entangled, you could say, in family life, there is still the opportunity just to go and, like, go to Badrik Ashram, or go to Gangotri, or go to Vrindavan, of course. So we're hearing about living in Vrindavan, and how Srila Prabhupada lived a life of poverty in Vrindavan, material poverty, but because he never desired or accumulated material entanglements, then he was always able to respond to the mercy that Krishna and his spiritual master and the acharyas were giving to him. And like in this pastime of him leaving his body, then he's really showing that how he not only is he able to leave the world in the perfect way, and he's not just teaching us, but he's not just giving the example of, this is how I want you to leave your body, but he's also showing that by not accepting the kind of technology of Western medicine, then he enabled all of his closest friends and disciples to have very intimate dealings with him right until the end of his life. That definitely wouldn't be possible in a hospital, and even perhaps it wouldn't be possible in like a hospice. It's interesting in Krishna book and in Chaitanya Charitamrita and in Srimad Bhagavatam, actually the only example that I can think of is Bhishma Dev. That's the one that comes to mind. And often when we read about Srila Prabhupada's leaving his body, then we remember Bhishma Dev leaving his body as well. And Bhishma Dev was also a brahmachari throughout his life. And even though he was like, the general of an army of like millions of soldiers, but still, because he had that mood of a brahmachari, then he was able to die in the association of the greatest personalities in the universe at that time. Of course, they're always the greatest, the Pandavas and Krishna. Krishna and Krishna's greatest devotees were there. But it's not that we have to be brahmacharis or sannyasis. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 1, one who acts as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, not he who, what was it? Sorry? Lights no fire or performs no duty. Yes, not he who performs no duty or lights no fire. So we don't know what situation we're going to be in, and we don't know what material situation we're going to be in. I'll say one advantage of living in India is it's a dangerous place, just like Mother Jagasrini was saying, Vrindavan's a dangerous place. And it is, and it's not just a dangerous place because you might hear Krishna's flute, but it's a dangerous place because it's India. But actually it's no different to the rest of the world. It's just that because of like the Western economic system, then like the rulers have decided that it's better for people it's easier to subjugate people if you keep them in a certain amount of comfort rather than just like putting them in a labor camp. So now the system in Russia was to put people in labor camps so that they were so terrified of the government that there wouldn't be any like counter-revolution. But they weren't as rich, I suppose, as America to be able to just give people like low wages, or in, as the case in the UK, to keep people on the social security. So in one sense, that's why it's easier for people to like adopt spiritual life in the communist countries, because they've had like less comfort in their life. So they're able to more easily accept the discipline of like brahmachari life or spiritual ashram. And so, but in ISKCON, because we're serving Srila Prabhupada's mission, and we have to be able to move between different cultural kind of scenarios. We have to be able to go to Russia and go to Africa and go to India and preach in Glasgow and preach in all sorts of different environments. So those of us who are not completely pure, then we by moving through these different environments, we'll find ourselves attracted to different aspects of these different cultures and these different communities. And we might, and even if we're living as brahmacharis, we might find ourselves like getting entangled in these different social ecosystems, you might say, or psychological ecosystems of different people. But the only way we can protect ourselves from that is to act as we are obligated. It's not by trying to give up. This was the magic of Srila Prabhupada's teaching, that the way to control your senses is to engage them fully, absolutely, 24 hours a day in serving the mission of Krishna consciousness. And we need a spiritual master to help us do that. One of the essential elements of accepting a spiritual master is that the spiritual master teaches us how to become a kinshana or niskinshana, teaches us how to have no grasping hands to acquire anything material, and so that we're completely unencumbered, and we can put all of our energy into serving Krishna through the medium of the spiritual master. And when you meet a devotee who has that mood of like service to his spiritual master and the service to Srila Prabhupada, then it's like, wow, it's like so nice that person, he just kind of jumps to the opportunity of service. He's able to do that because he's not tied down by anything material. So this is like the demigods. They're thinking, "Wow, it'd be great to like be in that environment where we're not like tied down by our, celestial comfort zone, and we're not inhibited in our service to Krishna. We can just jump, and just immediately jump, and just do that service." So I'll stop there. Are there any questions or comments? Raghunath Prabhu.
Thank you for a nice class. You were saying that because of being in a mode of brahmachari, associate with great personalities, or actually die in that association. So this wondering was the connection.
Well, it's the question is he didn't have all of his wives and children and like crying, and like like his wives would be coming out. Oh, what? They'd be like have him in a hospital. They'd have him in a nursing home. They wouldn't have. He wasn't. They wouldn't let. Who would let their husband or their father lie on a battlefield for like 4 months, like in extreme pain? Nobody. And and Srila Prabhupada, you know, if Srila Prabhupada had been married or had lots of children who were still like, you know, close to him, they wouldn't allow him to die like that. He was the richest person, one of the richest people in India, you know, like, you know. And, sorry?
Astrologically, we have the potential.
Yeah, I mean, not just, I mean, he literally was, I mean, he had access to like hundreds of millions of pounds. You know, he could have been in like, could have had a private suite of rooms in a hospital anywhere in India. And look at Krishna, when Upananda and Sunanda warned Nanda Maharaj that, you know, that it's not safe to live here, there's so many demons, we should go, we should leave. You know, then the whole community of like 900,000 cows and all of the residents of like Mahavan, within one day, the whole community uprooted and went to Vrindavan across the Jamuna River, somehow or other, with all of their cows and everything. So it's like, and that's, you know, that's what we're being, that's the whole reason that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to live this simple lifestyle, simple living, high thinking, so that when an opportunity arises to take something, like, you know, let's say the government decide that the Hare Krishnas really know how to live, they really know how to farm, they really know how to like teach people, and they say, okay, here's like 5,000 acres, you know, somewhere in the country, you know, so like, as long as we've got a core of brahmacharis and like we could just move and okay, let's take it in one day, we can go there and set up there. So that Prabhupada would be able to do that. And we've been trained by our temple president and our temple commander and our brahmachari leader to be able to do that. It may take 10 or 20 years to be able to do that, but you know, that's what Krishna was teaching, that's what Srila Prabhupada was teaching, and that's what Bharadvarsha teaches us. And that's what our sannyasis in ISKCON teach us as well, because they travel with nothing. I remember I was on a retreat with Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, and I went to his room, and there was nothing in his room at all. Nothing in his room. And I had like this 2 suitcases, and you know. Anyway, it's great. It's great to be in the association of all of the brahmacharis here. Like, you're very fortunate, and anyway, it's much more difficult when we're preaching to, you know, it's difficult. But Raghunath does a really good job, you know, to be able to keep all of the things that are given to us by the government and by the household of devotees, to be able to keep them in such an organized way that it doesn't interfere with the simple life of a brahmachari. It's very difficult to do, but thank you very much for doing that. Ashish, I think we have to finish now. You can ask a question. Oh, there's a question online.
Yeah, it's a question online thing.
Well, the others devotees can go then, because they're supposed to get ready for the retreat.
Answer in one sentence.
Okay, I'll answer in one sentence.
Question by Yaman, Hare Krishna. Should someone give away all that isn't required? I am profoundly impacted upon by the teachings, but renunciation of means brings about much anxiety.
Renunciation of needs.
Means.
Yeah, we should ask for help. We need help. You know, just like they have people called declutter gurus now, don't they? So we need a declutter guru who can help us identify what is necessary for our spiritual life. This is really what a spiritual master does. He identifies what we need to give up so that we can take full advantage of the process of devotional service. So, you know, we won't be able to work that out by ourselves. because we're already entangled. So how can we understand? We need the perspective of somebody who's on the outside, who can see what is necessary for us to be able to move swiftly and take the opportunities when they arise. I'm not that person because I'm severely entangled myself. But yeah, we need help. Anyway, okay. So, Hare Krishna. Kancha Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Shishi Kodanatai Mai Poshashi ki. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
His grace, Javat, Vasi, Prabhu ki.
Anansi Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.